Hello and welcome. You're watching We the People. I'm Sarah Jacob. This week, a letter co-signed by Elon Musk and thousands of others demanding a pause in artificial intelligence research has created a firestorm. On the 22nd of March, more than 1,800 signatories, including Musk, the cognitive scientist Gary Marcus, the Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, they all called for a 6-month pause on the development of artificial intelligence. These signatories to this open letter, key figures in the world of artificial intelligence, they say they want a training of powerful AI systems to be suspended amidst fears of a threat to humanity. In this open letter, they're warning of potential risks. They say the race to develop AI systems is out of control. The letter asks AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems that are more powerful than GPT-4. So what's GPT-4? Well, developed by OpenAI. That's a company co-founded by Musk and now backed by Microsoft. GPT-4 has developed the ability to hold human-like conversation. It can do everything from compose songs, poems, and summarize lengthy documents. Such AI systems, which have what is called as a human competitive intelligence, pose profound risks to humanity, the letter claimed. Now, advanced AIs, they say, need to be developed with care. That's what the letter says. But instead, what we're seeing in recent months, we've seen AI labs locked in an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or control. So you have Elon Musk and top AI researchers calling for a pause on giant AI experiments in this open letter that says the current race dynamic in AI is dangerous. It calls for the creation of independent regulators to ensure future systems are safe to deploy. So it all sounds very worrying. What should we take away from this? That's why we know you feel the same and you have these concerns, and that's why we're doing this show and we put together this show for you. So who are the signatories to this letter? Well, the signatories include the author, Yuval Noah Harari, the Apple co-founder, we have Steve Wozniak, we have the Skype co-founder, Jan Tallinn, the politician, Andrew Yang, a number of well-known AI researchers and CEOs, including Stuart Russell, Joshua Bengino, Gary Marcus, the Stability AI CEO, Ahmad Mostiq, and researchers at the Alphabet's AI lab, DeepMind. So the question we're asking, is the world prepared for the coming AI storm? Joining us on We the People tonight, we have Matteo Flora, adjunct professor of corporate reputation, international cybersecurity expert and AI expert and an entrepreneur, joining us from Italy. Ankush Sabharwal, founder and CEO of CoRover, a tech expert associated with the Government of India for IR, CTC, etc. apps. Jibu Elias, head of content and research at India AI, that's the National AI Portal, a fellow for responsible computing fellow for India at Mozilla, and Kazim Rizvi, founder director, the dialogue expert on AI and a tech policy expert. Matteo Flora, let's start with you simply because Italy also made headlines this week because it banned ChatGPT, was banned in Italy over privacy concerns, and this action by Italy's data protection agency is the first known instance of ChatGPT being blocked by a government order. Can you just put this into perspective for us? Why, what prompted this, and what the reactions have been in Italy to this open letter by Musk and many others considered to be AI experts?
Well, let's start from what happened. The Italian Data Protection Authority has imposed a temporary restriction on data processing for the Italian users of ChatGPT. As a result, OpenAI is now subject to an official investigation regarding its compliance or not with the data protection regulation. As a result, OpenAI has unilaterally blocked the access to Italian customers, but this will in no way be sufficient to answer the question raised by the authority that covers 4 main points. First of all, a data breach. OpenAI experienced a data breach on March 20, exposing user conversation and information related to its paid subscription service. The DPA notice reveals concern regarding the absence of whatsoever disclosure about the collection of data. The second one is that the DPA specifically highlights the lack of justification for collecting and storing massive amount of personal information that was used to train the platform itself. So we are talking about training. We're not talking right now in conversations done by user. The third one is that the privacy authority found that the information given by ChatGPT did not always match the actual data of people. Yep. And so there is an inaccurate processing and misinterpretation of personal detail. And the fourth one, that's the easier one, while ChatGPT is targeted to users above 13 years old, as stated in the terms of services, however, the DPA has raised concern regarding the absence of any kind of age verification mechanism, which could expose minors to unsuitable information, etc. The company has now 20 days to comply and to answer, or face penalty up to 20 million euros or 4% of the global annual revenue, whichever is higher.
All right. I'm not sure how one can actually enforce this and how one can live in as what we call the world is flat, but it's a great conversation starter. What happened in Italy? Can we see this in other countries? Because that's one of the aspects that the letter raises. We need to look at what kind of restrictions need to be put in place, and are our governments on board? But first of all, I just want to understand, get back to the bigger picture. Kazim Rizvi, can we just get from you, put this into perspective for us? How has this open letter actually gone down across the world, in the US, in the tech world, in Silicon Valley? Because we know who signed the open letter, right? But interestingly, or perhaps predictably, Sam Altman, chief executive of OpenAI, is not among those who've signed the letter yet, I think. Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, CEOs of Alphabet and Microsoft, they're also not among those who signed the letter. So can we say this is the gospel truth? This is seriously an issue, and everyone needs to respond with alacrity to the contents of this open letter?
Thank you so much. I would just like to sort of respond also in terms of what the open letter is talking, and just a general conversation around ChatGPT, but also the use of AI globally and certain ideological questions that have to be answered. I think what the Italian government is trying to do is understand and test ChatGPT with respect to how it's complying with GDPR and with local data privacy laws. I think that is very important. And I think it also sort of brings us to the question in terms of what are the principles of regulation we need to imbibe globally as well as in India.
Yes.
So as to minimize harms and prevent risk of any technology. Bear in mind the fact that, look, it is an important technology, and I don't think the right solution would be to say that, look, let's do away with it. I think what we need is a lot of collective discussion, and maybe the open letter is a start to a conversation in terms of how do we regulate AI going forward, both on the level of corporates who are developing this tool, but also on the part of the government, right? There are three things which I sort of want to talk about. Number one is around bias. And we understand that, AI depends on data. The more data you feed, the more accurate it becomes. But we also need to understand in terms of the quality and veracity of data which is being fed into the AI technologies and how this data is being collected. Who are developing the technology? I think we need a lot more diversity, conversations around diversity by design, privacy by design when it comes to developing AI technology, both at the level of development, but also once the technology is being used in the public domain. And now ChatGPT learns from humans, right? It sort of takes the learnings and improves itself, which is a great idea. But at the same time, we also need to be able to understand that how the technology is evolving over a period of, let's say, 2 years, 4 years, or 5 years, and what are the upgrades that are coming on, and how do we ensure that you are minimizing the harms to society.
How do we seem to always be playing catch up. By the time you figure out what to put in place in terms of regulation, the technology has already moved on to the next version. But Ankush Sabharwal, so we're talking about cons, right? Like, we know there needs to be regulation. We know there are cons, whether it's risk to a democracy because you have like what you call weaponized disinformation. There's a loss of possible loss of jobs because of displacement of human skills, education, there's plagiarism, there's devotement, I mean, there's cheating basically. This letter also, there was a recent report from Goldman Sachs that said, yes, AI will increase productivity, but millions of jobs could become automated. So can we also just talk a little bit, could like put you on the spot, could you tell us what the pros are then for artificial intelligence?
Thanks for asking this question to me. It's like, the analogy is, say if you hire someone as subordinate to you, and if that subordinate tries to outperform you and he's genuinely intelligent, or what would you do? Would you fire that guy, right? Or you let him perform the best whatever that guy can? But at the same time, you build the safety net and governance around that. So in the latter, I've read that letter. If you see, there are two aspects I think spoken or articulated very well. I think the first, they're very articulate, saying, hey, the safety net and governance should be there. Yes, absolutely. The governance should be there. But can we say, hey, so you stop the experiments around it? Is building the safety net and governance not part of the experiments, not part of the training? Well, even if you do that, how would you ensure that doesn't happen? I think whatever is the genuine demand of putting the safety net and governance, that should be there. But I think stopping it, I think that's not feasible, and probably that's not going to happen. But
all right, so you're saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I think at this point of time, let's bring in, if you're talking about the pros, how it can be used for a greater good. We have someone I'm very honored to have on the show, Leena Rafiq, who is all of 11 years old, and she's sharing the platform with all of you men. I'm glad this is not a manual, because this 11-year-old girl has introduced an AI application that can help detect eye disease by screening and analyzing your eyes. So fantastic. Leena Rafiq, thank you for joining us. Quickly tell us about your innovation and what it has to do with AI. Leela, you may need to unmute.
In my opinion, AI should not be paused or freezed, because it's growing rapidly and very quickly, and it's very, very useful for the human.
So you introduce an application, it's called Ogler Eye Scan. It detects 4 different types of eye diseases, right? And you can find out if you have a cataract, an arcus, melanoma, and the app comes up with 70% accurate results. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, yes. So 4 diseases has 4 AI models currently.
And 70% accurate results. All right. Just quickly tell us, Leena, how did you get into this AI when you were like, you're only 11? Were there concerns? Were there family relatives, etc., asking, why do you spend so much time on the internet, and how one has to be concerned? Just take us through what you faced growing up.
Well, actually, my family is very supportive. Actually, they gave me KGP, advanced knowledge gaining process, for me to learn this advanced artificial intelligence, machine learning, and coding.
Yeah.
So they were actually very helpful and more supportive.
And this is what you want to do in the future? What do you want to do going forward?
Well, I want to I have goals, and I have I'm going to learn more, and using that, I'm going to solve many issues in this world.
All right, you're going to solve many issues in this world. We need more young people like you with those kinds of aspirations who are able to make use of AI for what purpose perhaps it has been created, to do more good in this world. But Jebu Elias, is that, am I being naive? We have new and capable regulatory authorities dedicated to AI. That's what this letter says, that we need regulatory authorities that are dedicated to AI. We've had recently a number of proposals for the regulation of technology in the US, in the UK, in the EU. Where does India stand on this?
So I think India is in a very early stage when it comes to AI regulation. But at the same time, what Lena is doing, right? That's one good example of how AI is being used for the social good, right? For example, in India, we got only one eye doctor for 200,000 people. And now if you have tools like what Lena has developed, I think a similar tool is employed by Tamil Nadu government called e-Parway, which detect cataract. So this is where AI comes in handy, right? Like bringing down cost of diagnostics or some of these areas in healthcare and agriculture. It's making a lot of progress. At the same time, before I get into the regulation part, I want to say a lot of this current situation is a lot of hype there. Even the open letter, the people who hasn't signed, like many of the top AI ethicists hasn't signed this open letter. Look at Timnit Gebru, who warned about this situation 2-3 years ago through her paper called Stochastic Parrots, or Jan LeCun, right? So people are also pointing out what happened in 14th century when typewriters came out. The Catholic Church immediately put a ban for 6 months, right? So that's one thing. Secondly, we are nowhere close to calling it a digital mind. It's nowhere AI, like human competitive intelligence. It's not. What we are saying is just language models and this model architecture called transformers, which is very good in predicting the sequence of characters or words which we find meaning in. Yes, these kind of models can replace jobs. I think CNET is using this kind of jobs to create articles now. Even I have played with GPT-2. Even in India AI, there are articles we purposefully got GPT-2 to write on. So those things are there. But at the same time, we have to understand that we have to filter out the signal from the noise, the level of hype out there. Now coming to the regulation, I think EU has one of the best models, which is risk-based models, right? The more risk a particular segment can have, for example, healthcare, using AI in healthcare is more riskier. So tighter regulations. Or if it's, look at something like chatbots and all, they have a lesser regulation, but now they are reconsidering as a result of this ChatGPT and all. So I think, we are also on the right path. We have the Digital India bill coming up. We have the national program on AI coming up. At the same time, India has a different view. India wants AI for all. We want AI to empower our society, like the Bhashini program we have, which is a very good example. Or Ankush has worked with many of these IRCTC and many of providing these tools, right? The MyGov help desk and so many programs the government has developed, which is kind of bridging that gap. Even a few days back, Jensen Huang said, this kind of AI will help India because now you don't need experts to make codes. People like Lena or young people who don't have that kind of experience or who are coming into this space can use models like ChatGPT to write codes. You don't need to learn Python or C or C++ to create programs. So in that way, these new models will close the digital divide we have in our country. But yes, at the same time, the right word to use is we have to be cautiously optimistic about the development and about how these things are turning out to be. But I don't think anyone is going to take this open letter seriously or going to shut down the AI.
And how much will 6 months, how much of a difference can 6 months actually make, right? Matteo Flora, interestingly, you have the Twitter chief, now Twitter chief, Elon Musk, one of his many avatars, one of the many hats that he wears. He's among those who now want training of AIs above a certain capacity to be halted for 6 months. He's the chief executive of Tesla, so one of the co-founders of a company where basically uses AI for an autopilot system. So that in a sense, hypocritical in a way, or should we look at it as more credibility because he's been in the system and now is speaking out against it?
We haven't been able to treat data in a correct fashion in the last 10 years, and scandals like Cambridge Analytica show that up to everyone in every part of the world. So asking for a 6-month stop sounds more like give me a little bit more time to come up with my solution, more than let's find out the correct solution. Here in Europe, the Artificial Intelligence Act, that is quite well made, I must say, has been in the works for the last 5 years, I think, and there are still things that sort of evade the kind of barriers that are set in place. So stopping and asking for a 6-month sort of truce between humanity and artificial intelligence isn't really going to do much more than a PR stunt. And in PR stunts, Elon Musk is quite good.
All right. But, we must mention the concerns about social media influence and politics. Society was very sharp in the aftermath of the 2016 US presidential elections, right? We had all those accusations about voter manipulation by foreign agents. So there are many concerns. But if I can ask you, Ankush Sabharwal, you were smiling over there. So let me ask you, because some of the words in this letter can be quite alarming, right? So would you be able to just put together for us, for our viewers, what the worst case scenario in terms of AI being, quote, catastrophic to humanity could be?
See, before that, I agree with Matthew. So, I respect Elon Musk, whatever he has done, and his purpose is, of course, serving society with tech. But he's a great marketeer, right? So, you see, one of the people who have signed this letter is the co-founder, I think founder, CEO of Stability AI, which is funded by Elon Musk, right? So I'll not talk much about it, but see, I think in fact, I think someone said when calculators were coming, and you see a lot of social media, we're getting a lot of memes where a lot of mathematicians said, hey, let's stop this, give the moratorium, the calculator should not be there and should not be used. Right. So everything comes with pros and cons, and see what are the hypes and whatever is the reality of chatbot, if that is understood, and that should be given as a concrete disclaimer. I think the worrying part about the chat GPT is, so they are ready to answer you everything, right? So they are not saying, hey, you can ask me only about this subject or this subject. They're saying, hey, you ask me anything. And they say everything with so much confidence and without any disclaimer whether this can be wrong, right? So we have to work towards the sanitizing and alarming the users, hey, they can go even wrong.
Okay. I want to just quickly ask you all about something that stood out for me when I was trying to do some research on this. This speculatively, where the letter asks, should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, make obsolete and replace us? Can I just get your responses to that? Kazim Rizvi, in the future, is AI going to pose a more general threat to human control over our own civilization? Is that like, you see those things in the movies?
No, I don't think so that's possible, because I think basically what AI is right now and what we see AI is the ability to understand and detect patterns by collecting, processing large volumes of data, right? That's the fundamental with respect to how AI performs. It does not have any any emotional intelligence. It does not have empathy. It also does not have any type of consciousness, be alone human consciousness. So I do not think, at least at this stage and even going forward, that AI would be able to replace human minds and then able to bring itself together and then,
all right. Jibu Alia, same question to you. There's this whole talk about singularity, right? What is that? It's a hypothetical future where technology surpasses human intelligence and changes the path of our evolution. Some are predicting it's going to happen by 2045. Your opinion on this?
So the existential risk, as you mentioned, is a good diversion from the current problems that we have with AI, like people like Kasim and pointed out the bias and few other things. Now coming to the question, artificial superintelligence or artificial general intelligence, the human level, I think it won't be an existential risk, because we tend to compare human intelligence with dominance. So we think we as humans, we are the most intelligent things on the planet, and we ended up dominating this planet. So we think something that will be smarter than us end up dominating us. But if you look at a lot of that has to do with our dominating nature, has to do with how the natural selection worked, evolution worked, and all those things. So that's there. But to be honest, we are nowhere close to having a human level intelligence, and it will take maybe beyond 2045 or more than that. But I don't think there will be an existential threat from these models or these kind of AI, like the way we think, Terminator kind of scenario. That's not going to happen, because intelligence is not always equal to dominance. I mean, we have seen female elephants, which is very intelligent, but they are not a dominant way. They're very cooperative elephants in general. So I think this kind of narration should change. And we should look at the real problem that's happening right now. The job displacement, the bias, the security, the privacy, these kind of problems are, and most importantly, how these models are built on top of labor from third world countries, right? People in Kenya were annotating and working and building this data behind a ChatGPT, and at what, $2 per hour. So this kind of labor exploitation also should be considered.
All right. Do I have 30 seconds? I can quickly ask Matteo Flora your response too on this whole, the fear that it will surpass human intelligence. It's independent thinking, no longer needs to take orders from humans. It takes on a life of its own.
We are very, 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 very slow in incrementing our intelligence, and our level of intelligence has been constantly steady for the last few millennia. The first artificial intelligence to be able to show some kind of intelligence will overpower us in the space of a few seconds. But if you want to take a much better look than me at this kind of issues, you better take a look at Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence. He has been talking about that for the last 10 years, I think.
All right. Well, thank you all for being part of this conversation, for being on We the People. It's an important issue. It's been making headlines. Not enough shows were done on it this week. A lot of people are curious about it. So we're grateful for your time, for trying to help separate the noise from the facts. Thank you for joining us on We the People.